Silence in EFT can be some of the most stressful moments in the game. Many have called Tarkov a horror game, and for good reason. You're minding your own business, casually going about your raid, when out of nowhere, you start taking fire from either an AI or a player. Things can go from 0 to 100 so fast in this game, and it's these moments where if you're able to survive and get your bearings, they can really define a raid and create a core memory that'll last during your time in EFT. But if raids were that high octane all the time, it would quickly become kind of a novelty. It would feel more like a traditional battle royale game instead of an immersive and difficult extraction shooter. You need to find a balance between the fast-paced and intense moments with the slower and more quiet moments in each raid. Leaning too heavily into either side creates problems in the game that ruins the replay value. Sure, you can have opportunities where each of these moments might appear more often based on numerous outside factors, but what a lot of developers don't get right is the dance between the two. Luckily, BSG did a fantastic job walking that tightrope in EFT. So let's talk about how difficult it can be to find a healthy medium between raids that are jam-packed with action and other raids that are just sightseeing on any given map. When you don't hear anything going on inside a raid, that's when you should be the most concerned. Ignoring how bad audio in general can be within EFT, we can all agree that when it's working, it's one of the most important and critical factors to a successful raid. Being able to figure out what's going on around you on any given map and plan your movements accordingly is a skill that will take time to develop. But once you do, noises from particular parts of the map will clue you in on what to expect going deeper into the map. There will generally be less surprises on your travels, at least ones that completely catch you off guard. You can't ever fully rule out people being in weird places or low traffic points on a map. Everyone has a reason for being where they are, but when the map doesn't have much going on, speaking from personal experience, that's when I usually become the most nervous because there isn't any clear indication that people are in high traffic areas for one reason or another. If I'm on shoreline and I don't hear any noises from the resort, that usually means one of two things. Either no one is there, or most likely, a squad is trying to clear it out. Which is honestly scarier than when the resort is just popping off and you're going there to potentially third-party the fight. And this mindset goes for any location on any map. You expect certain places to have activity, and when they don't, it's almost unsettling, if that makes sense. Sure, it can be chalked up to either maybe a low population server or people just not interested in those areas, but then that means the rest of the map is going to be more populated, and you really need to have your guard up when traveling from point to point. Otherwise, that's when you might get surprised and ambushed by somebody you weren't expecting. This game really does have a way of making you feel uneasy for a majority of your time playing. So many things you need to consider and worry about constantly. All the while you're trying your best to survive and complete quests. It makes the brain hurt a lot really fast. While most of us enjoy when raids are loud and rowdy as we get to experience fighting other players more often, it's also important to appreciate the quieter raids when they do happen. As rare as they can be sometimes, it creates opportunities to get a lot of things accomplished. Questing most of the time, unless it requires fighting other PMCs, always feels good when you can stack multiple quests on a single map and not see a single other player. It doesn't happen often, but it's always appreciated when you can kind of just mind your own business and quest. That doesn't make it a walk in the park though. These kinds of raids are always the most stressful because, again, there's no obvious tell where people are gonna be. And of course, the more quests you try to complete in one raid, the more devastating it will feel should you be slain prematurely. Larger maps, this is less of an issue, but I always find myself doing tons of takes looking behind me to make sure that I'm not getting followed or anything. And this is usually when I get dropped from God knows where by some guy maybe doing Shooterborn in heaven. But I'd rather have that happen than get sent back to my stash at the beginning of a raid. At least in this circumstance, I was able to walk around for a little while, even if it means I have to go and get all those quest items all over again. When it comes to how raids can or should go, it's all about balance. Granted, we as players only have so much we can control in regards to how a raid will play out. We can choose our map, our gear, and how we navigate around the map, but Other than that, there are so many more variables out of our control that we just need to adapt and adjust to on the fly. It's what separates new players from experienced ones. It can be very difficult to have that third eye, if you will, knowing that this area up ahead is dangerous because you heard a lot of noise. Even if you were able to deduce it was maybe just some scavs, why are they acting up? Are they still aggressive? Where is the person who initially riled them up? You never know when you enter a new building or location. You could be the first person inside, or could be 15 minutes late into a fight between 2 or more other players. But that's what makes Tarkov so special. That uncertainty, the hesitation, and the bravery to say screw it and jump headfirst somewhere completely unaware of what's been going on. I know I might be a little hyperbolic here, but I swear this is part of EFT's core identity. It's what distinguishes it from other games and other modes that are similar to this. The feeling of loss is so ingrained in players so early on that we want to avoid it as much as possible. And so we rely on our senses in-game to support us in our endeavors. And while it certainly does suck when those senses fail us, when they are working to the best of their ability, it's up to the player to figure out what's going on around them. And when sound isn't assisting you because the raid is quiet, that's when I find myself the most on edge, because you never know what's around the next corner. And that's a good thing. Tarkov is a very scary game when the map is quiet. The ambiguity, the tension, and the drama, it all works together when the game doesn't provide one of the most important senses to you. Whether that's because the raid has a lower amount of players, people aren't interested in the high traffic locations, or people just want to keep a low profile, when you are deprived of sound in this game from outside sources, it makes the hairs on your neck stand on end. You're always worried someone might be right behind you, and in some cases, they are. But it comes with the territory of playing a game where dying is the worst case scenario. Gear lost, quest progression reset, and having to face the internal reflection on how you can improve so that death doesn't happen again. It all works together to create an experience that no other game really replicates. And there's something poetically bittersweet about that. I think that's how I would describe the tension in Tarkov's silence. Poetically bittersweet. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Let me know down in the comment section below your thoughts on whether or not Tarkov is scary when raids are quiet. Does it do a good job at striking balance between loud and quiet raids? And be sure to subscribe for more videos about the game's ability to somehow make less audio in a raid more terrifying than if the entire map is lit up like a Christmas tree. I hope to see you in future ones.